Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody out there in podcast land. You are in tune to another episode of Intrinsic Motivation. This is Hamza.
And I am David.
And today, folks, oh my goodness, I'm super excited about our guest today. We're going to talk about discovering your innate ability to command consciousness. And I know a lot of people will get a lot out of this call that we have today. Many people look outside themselves. And I believe that our wonderful guest of the website Divine Within will teach us how we can look internally to get some of the answers that we're accustomed to looking outside of ourselves. We can kind of find that path to least resistance, if you will. And then her tagline on her emails is that the law of attraction is bull, sugar, honey, iced tea. So I really love that. I love it to death, and I want to know more about it. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Kerri Kannan to the podcast. Welcome, Kerri.
Thank you so much, Hamza and Davis. I'm really, really excited to be here. It's really an honor and a pleasure, and thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you for being with us.
Yeah, glad you could make it. I guess first and foremost, a lot of people that we talk to, they come through, I think the beginning for a lot of travel or inner journey is through law of attraction. Mm-hmm. And in the intro, you kind of obliterate that. So I guess we can start with that.
So there are a lot of good things with the law of attraction. Really, the work that I do is, so about 20 years ago, I discovered the law of attraction before I even knew what it was, and I started teaching it, and I realized that I needed to change my mindset in order to change my life. But then as I've grown, I realized that, actually I think it was more than 20 years, I realized that it's not mindset, it's more perspective. So in that time, I had multiple experiences where I've experienced miracles, and I felt like there had to be a simpler way rather than doing 10,000 affirmations and efforting at trying to keep a positive mindset and, all of this. And there's a lot of blame to people in the law of attraction world and things like that. Like, oh, well, what's your mindset? Why are you attracting this? And blah, blah, blah. And it's I've experienced that along my journey. People would be like, well, why are you going through this divorce and all that? It must be your mindset. You must be attracting it to yourself, which is really BS. And the problem is, there's a lot of this shaming that goes on in the spiritual community, and people sort of get up on that self-righteous high horse. And honestly, it really has nothing to do with mindset. Real power and real command of your life really has nothing to do with mindset. It has to do with self-realization. And self-realization is the realization that you are your life. You are consciousness. There is no separation between your life and yourself. And in fact, there's no separation between anything in your life, including all of the people, all of the circumstances, every thought, every deed, every word, every emotion that you express, that you hear, and anything else, any idea that you think of, anything that you can possibly fathom, and even the things that you can't fathom are all you. And it elevates, my work sort of elevates the perspective, not the mindset. And then from that perspective, from claiming that I am all of consciousness lives through me, I do not have a separate consciousness, or I don't live a life lives me. And when you can come from that perspective, anything is possible. Anything is possible because you know that you are all of it. So you're not trying to attract to yourself anything because there's nothing outside of you.
I love it. I love it to death. I guess the first question to that, though, is you said 20 years, so you had to come to that self-realization.
Yeah.
Would you look at law of attraction more of a training wheels? Because if I'm used to 3D, there has to be baby steps before I come to your conclusion you so eloquently highlighted.
Yes, but I don't think everybody has to go through 20 years.
Absolutely.
Really, it's a tiny shift in perspective. It's a tiny, tiny shift in perspective that can be taught, that can be trained, just like anything else. So like you said, it's training wheels. So what my work does is it helps people learn to take off the training wheels and really step into their full power. And, it requires training, like learning how to ride a bike. It requires training. And, it requires someone who can look at you and course correct, or a group of people that can look at you and course correct. And honestly, Hamza, I was very, very blessed. I had a spiritual teacher that I worked with for like 5 years who every time I was like, oh, I had this breakthrough and I am this and I am that. And he was like, no, Kerri, you're not, or not that you, or like I was saying, I'm attracting this and I'm attracting that and I can do this. And he was like, no. That's all BS. You are that. You're not attracting, squat. You are that. And he would keep bringing me back, and I'd sort of veer to the left, and he'd pull me back, and I'd veer to the right, and he'd pull me back, and I'd kind of shake around, and he'd like hold me still, and that's for me what it required. But he wasn't. He's a very quiet guy, and he had a different perspective. And one of my gifts is that I'm a great communicator, and I can frame things for people in ways that they understand. And what seems like enlightenment is really just a shift in perspective. It's just a shift in perspective, and people that work with me are able to shift into that perspective because it's not a big deal. It doesn't have to be a big deal, and we make some big giant effing deal out of it. So,
Sure. She doesn't sound passionate about it at all, does she, David?
No, not at all.
I'm a little disappointed there.
Yeah. So, Kerri, what you mentioned like 20 years. You said 20 years ago you started having some experience. Well, what were some of those experiences that you were having?
So, first of all, I'll just kind of give you the sort of quick and dirty of my spiritual journey. So, about 20 years ago, I like many people, I got Reiki attunements, and I really started to dive into, my spirituality, like getting Reiki attunements and, reading spiritual books and blah, 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 getting into the health stuff and all that, and the healing thing. And what happened was I had a realization. So I got married, or I was getting married, and my now ex-husband said, why don't you figure out what you really want to do and, do that? Because he was making like 6 times what I was making. And I was like, wow, what an awesome gift. If I can do whatever I want to do, I'm going to figure out my life purpose. And I had been a student of A Course in Miracles, and I was like, okay. So I read this article, and this is back during the times of the Internet in like 1998 when, the Internet was not what it is now. And I came across this article by a man named John Snodgrass, and it said, in his article, he said, your special function according to A Course in Miracles is whatever you perceive to be the reality of your own guilt, sin, or victimization is the exact opposite of, or is your special function. So whatever is missing is your gift. Your weakness is your strength, and your special dysfunction is your special function. And I was like, all right, well, what's my special dysfunction? And being a Western woman, I've always had body image issues. So I was like, I'm fat. And I was like, nope, that's not it. And I was like, I don't like myself. And I was like, nope, that's not it either. I don't love myself. And when I had that thought, I started jumping around my living room, thanking everybody who had ever hurt me, because I realized that they provided me with the context to understand the content of my thinking. And I was like, wow, all I need to do is change my thinking, and then my life will change. And so that's where my law of attraction beginning started. Then, I'm plodding along my little path. And in 2004, I went on this spiritual retreat program with Unity Village in Lee's Summit, Missouri. And it was a really intense week, and I took 4 classes, and each class was 2 hours, and then prior to the classes, there was like some hour-long prayer thing in the morning or half an hour or something like that. So it was like 8.5 hours of like deep spiritual, intense study for this 5 days that I was there. And on Wednesday, we were going through, in one of my classes, I had an instructor who taught two of them. One was the Old Testament, and the other one was Jesus' teachings. And she was wearing a splint on her hand on Wednesday and on Tuesday, but she was not on Monday. And somebody asked her about the splint, and she said, I got into a car accident about 10 years ago, and, every once in a while my hand hurts, and, I wear my splint. And so on Wednesday we were going through, in the Jesus' teachings class, we were going through the miracles. And so miracle after miracle after miracle after miracle, it was like this guy had a method to his madness. So he would go into meditation. My perception is he would, remind himself of who he was. And he would ask himself a question like, can I do this? And, he would come out with this knowing of who he was and his power. And then he would do his little charismatic, magician thing, like, poking his finger in ears, spitting on tongues, rubbing mud in people's eyes, and all that jazz. And then people thought that action was the miracle, but it wasn't. The miracle was the knowing. The miracle was knowing who he was, knowing the truth of his nature, and being able to perform that based on that knowing. And after the first hour of this class, we took a break, and I knew that we could do anything that he could do. And I was like, okay, is there anything I can do to help my instructor heal her hand? And I got a yes. And I was like, okay, cool. So what do I have to do? And I got just no. And I was like, really? Just no? And I get just no. So I walked back in. I held her hand. I looked her in the eye, and I said, I don't know how. I just know that your hand is healed. And then somebody walked in 2 seconds later and said, hey, your hand is healed already. And the next day, guess what? She didn't wear her splint. And she said, you know what? This morning I woke up and my hand felt better than it has in 10 years. And I was like, it's very interesting. So then throughout the year, she would send out little emails. And after one of the emails, I was really curious. I was like, hey, remember when I did that little healing? Like, did it stick? Are you still healed? Like, what's going on there? And she said, wow, I forgot about that. And yeah, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with my hand. It's fine. I'm fine. So I was like, and that was my touchstone. So I knew from that moment that we all have within us the power to do whatever we want. And I call it command consciousness. And people have, buttons around the word command, so I like to use it even more. Because, I have a pretty fluid command of the English language. But when I say command consciousness, people are like, you sound like a, 4-year-old demanding things. And it's like, no. There's a difference between demanding and commanding. Like, you have a command of the language, your native language, and you have command over the things that you're good at. But why is commanding consciousness, a dirty word? So anyway, I like to use it because of that, because people have buttons. But really, it showed me that we can all do this. And so for 10 years after that, I was trying to figure out how I got back to that consciousness in that room and figure out how did I do that. And then in 2014, I had an experience that showed me that, it kind of gave me the missing piece, because I had been working on it. I did this thing called 5 Keys to Conscious Creation, and I had worked with EFT and all these other modalities. And then I had an experience that showed me that, gave me the missing piece, and I realized that I could do it, and I can go into that, unless you have a question before I dive into that long story, because I can keep talking.
Yeah, no, I love the story, and I love how you explained the difference between demand and command. I did have some questions with that, but I also like the flow that you're going through, so I really don't want to break it.
Okay, all right. So what happened was and honestly, we bring into we bring into our lives the people who will force us to grow. So again, my ex-husband, he's like the greatest gift, but he shows up in many different ways. So we had been on our fifth custody battle. So my ex-husband did everything that he could to try and destroy my relationship with my children and with my financial well-being. He just did everything he could to try and destroy me. And I am the type of person that, I'm very spiritually oriented, so I would meditate and go in, and I'd try and take the high ground sometimes, and just and some people would say that I was a pushover because I didn't want to. I felt like the universe was trying to show me something, and I didn't want to fight against the universe. But really, my ex-husband kind of is not the type of person who will grow. If I'm doing Ho'oponopono or something like that, he'll just bowl me over. He'll bulldoze me. And I learned that. But so I was probably in my 5th custody battle, and my ex-husband had finally wrangled away primary custody from me because, he would lie. And, the judge is like, okay, the truth has to be somewhere in between what she's telling me and what he's telling me. And he was so far, lying that, the judge thought that it had to be somewhere in the middle. So I kept losing more and more and more of my ability to parent my children. But then that shifted the following year. But I'm not going to get into that because it's a different part of the story. So I was like, okay. And I saw that I had this pattern in my life, and it went back to childhood because I grew up in a family where my dad was like a second-generation restaurant owner, and he was really funny about money and time and just weirdness around men and money and control in relationships. And I saw the pattern. I saw that, my fear of not having enough money was interfering with my relationship with my children. And it was allowing for my ex-husband to sort of control me like that. And I also was trying to get my coaching off the ground. And to supplement that, I was doing web design work. And this guy that I was doing web design work for, I was creating these beautiful, $5,000 websites. And I was being paid $1,200 per website. And it would take me a month to put a website together. And so I told the guy that I was doing it for, I was like, listen, I either need to make less elaborate websites or you need to pay me more. And he was like, well, I can go to India and I can find somebody in India who can do it. And, I'm doing you a favor and all of that. So I felt trapped, but I saw this pattern. So I called Silent Unity and I was like, listen, I see this pattern of money and men and control and all that muckiness, and I want it gone and I want something better. And so, she did the prayer, and then, 10 minutes later, I came across work that is very similar to what I do now, although people have told me that it's more powerful, but I don't know because I don't experience it really myself. I just do it, because it comes through me, so I don't get the benefit of actually feeling what other people feel. But so I came across this woman who does very similar work to what I do, and I listened to what I now call a consciousness alignment. She doesn't call it that. And I have this sense of infinite peace and patience around money. And at the same time, my ex-husband had just, he had just taken primary custody from me, so I wasn't going to be getting any more child support. And I decided to fire this abusive client. And so there I was. I had one source of income coming in, which was to do audio editing for this woman who does podcasts. She's has a healing podcast thing. And so one of the audios that I edited was of this guy who does this really cool light healing therapy, and I wanted to have him on my show because I was doing my World Awakens talk radio at the time. And so anyway, this woman did this thing, and I was in this place of infinite peace and patience, and I let go of all those other sources of income except for the audio editing. And I kept sitting on my couch and asking, is there anything that I can do to create a source of income in my life now? And I kept getting, just wait. And 5 minutes would pass. And I'd be like, is there anything I could do now to create a source of income in my life? Because I didn't want to miss an opportunity, right? And I kept getting, just wait. And then for 2.5 weeks, it was just wait, just wait, just wait, just wait, just wait, just wait, just wait. So I waited. I sat around on my couch for 2 weeks, and all I had coming in was $250 a month at that point from this audio editing, which is nothing to live on. I don't care what country you live in. It's not actually fun. So here I was, and I'm sitting on my couch in this state of infinite peace and patience. And I was like, well, if it can go away that quickly, it can come in just as quickly. So this guy who I had edited his interview for her, I was like, wow, I want to have him on my show. So he wanted to do a pre-interview interview, and I didn't have anything going on. I was sitting on my couch. So I was like, okay, cool, let's do that. So I'm talking to him, and he asked me how many people I knew, like the woman who I had was doing the audio editing for. And I was like, I don't know, hundreds, those are my people. And he was like, well, if you could hook me up with an interview, with interviews with people like her, I'll pay you $500 a pop. And I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. How many do you want? And he was like, as many as you can get. So I was able to get him like 10 a week. And I'll let you guys do the math. And that lasted for a couple months. And then, some weird stuff kind of started happening, and I kind of let that go. And but anyway, it showed me that I could go from zero to like $20,000 a month in 2 weeks. Like I guess $250 a month to $20,000 a month in 2 weeks. So I was like, okay, there's something here. And during that time, I was like, okay, what did that woman do? The woman that I heard that thing that does like the thing that I do now, what did she do? And I saw that on her website she was charging $1,000 an hour, which I could afford. And I was like, well, I have other stuff I want to let go of. I want to get in touch with her. I want to work with her. And even though she was charging $1,000 an hour, she was inaccessible. Like I emailed her. I, tried to do, like, just set up a PayPal, like send her money so that she would, schedule an appointment. I tried all different ways to get in touch with her, and I couldn't. And then I went and I listened to her audios. And people would ask her, how do you do it? Like, what are you doing? And I don't know if she doesn't know what she was really doing, or maybe she's not a good communicator, or if she was just being afraid that other people would, encroach on her, bank account, or what it was. But she kept telling people, oh, no, I'm the only one with the gift. You can't do it. I can tell you what I'm doing, but you can't do it. And I knew that was a crock of crap. So because I had healed somebody's hand, and I had been looking for this answer. So I was like, all right, well, that's a crock of crap. So I'm going to just, being where I am, knowing what I know, all of the spiritual growth that I've done, so I meditated on it. I was like, how do I do this? And I just, I was just sort of sent, I started practicing, this work from the sort of perspective of consciousness that I come from. And I just allowed myself to be in that same state of letting go when I facilitated the miracle with the hand, and allowed myself to get out of the way from that higher consciousness, from the higher perspective, asking the greater consciousness that I am, knowing that I am all of life, to facilitate different things on behalf of people. And I started asking for guinea pigs. And all my friends were like, ooh, pick me. So my favorite story, and I tell it all the time, it's one of the first stories, like one of the first things that I came across. And since then there have been others, but this is a twofer, and it's a really big twofer. So that's why I love it. So one of the people who was asking me to, do this for her was a collaborating author for a book project that I was involved with. And she said, I want two things. I want to heal the relationship with my daughter, and I want for our book to be a bestseller. And so I asked her about what was going on with her daughter, and she said that her daughter, had just turned 18, and she was graduating from high school, and she had a shopping habit, and that she told her daughter, listen, I can't support your lifestyle. You either need to go on welfare or you need to get a job. And so, and this is in Australia, so it's called the dole there. It's not welfare, it's the dole. And so her daughter decided to go on the dole. And so now her daughter could buy all the clothes that she wanted, but she was, being a teenager. She was sitting around the house doing nothing, not contributing, and, she could afford the clothes that she wanted, but she was driving her mother crazy. So I said, okay, so it sounds like you actually have a good relationship with your daughter, but the kid needs to find some meaning in her life. She needs to find something to do with her time. She needs, she needs to get a job. And I said, so here's what we're going to do. We are going to ask that she finds her dream job, 18-year-old dream job, with no particular effort on her part. Like, she doesn't have to look for it. It'll just land in her lap. And then she's going to be so happy and she's going to feel so great about herself that it's going to spill over into her relationship with you, and then that's going to heal your relationship. How does that sound? And she was like, well, that sounds great to me. And I was like, great. So we did that. I did a consciousness alignment asking for exactly that. And then with the book, I was like, well, that's great that you want it to be a bestseller, but how about we ask for a #1 international bestseller? And she was like, can we do that? I was like, we can ask. So that's what I did. I did a consciousness alignment for her relationship with her daughter and for that exact thing to happen, and also for our book to become #1 an international bestseller. So about 3 weeks, maybe 2.5, who knows, who cares, she called me and we were going to talk about the book, and she said, oh, I need to tell you what happened with my daughter. So she was in her favorite shop, in her favorite boutique, actually was the word that she used, spending her check, and the shop owner approached her and asked her if she would be interested in modeling for their internet and print presence. She would make money, she would get a discount on clothes, and if she wanted to start a modeling portfolio, she could do that as well. So, boom, dream job, 18-year-old, there we go. And she was so happy about herself that it spilled over into her relationship with her mom. Then the other one took a little longer because we had editing to do and rewrites and, whatever. But on American Thanksgiving 2015, our book went to #1 in the United States, Australia, Canada, the UK, and the Netherlands. So this stuff really works.
I love it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's really interesting just listening to you talk, Kerri, because I'm thinking on one side of the brain is let go, let God, and on the other side is thy will be. What is it? Thine will, not my will, be done. Right. And so it's like you're kind of, but then in the middle it's command consciousness. So there seems to be a balance in the perspective of how you look at it. Could you explain how that works?
Yes. So, and I don't know if this is intrinsic to me or if it's, so I feel like when somebody's presented with a problem, that there's a higher way of looking at it, not just, heal my relationship with my daughter. Well, there's more to it, like what's going on there. And my perception is, and this is the field that I work from, the field meaning the infinite field of possibilities that I work from. So I will normally ask somebody, what is your, not normally, sometimes, but if I'm doing like a group thing, I'll just allow it to flow through. But if I'm asking somebody what, if I can help them, a lot of times it's, what is your highest idea of the outcome for this, whatever's going on here? And they'll give me that idea. And from my perspective, whenever you have an idea of something that, you would like to have happen in your life, or something that you believe could happen, or a best scenario, no thought comes to you that is not available to you. So every thought that exists in all of consciousness that you have access to is a possibility. So from my perspective, from this perspective, if somebody has a thought of a greater idea, that idea is already there. Like if that idea is flowing through you and is presented to you, it's the universe saying, hey, what do you think about this? Hey, what do you think about that? Hey, how would you like this? Hey, how would you like that? And a lot of times we'll be like, no, I'm unworthy. I can't do that. My father told me that I'm a worthless piece of crap, whatever. And here are all these ideas that are coming to you, and all you have to do is say yes. That's all you have to do is say yes, and the universe will deliver. But we're so stuck in our stupid stories universe to deliver. And so that's what I do. I actually just bypass all that crap, and I deliver. I'll command it in, and when somebody's listening to me speak and do my thing, I'm acting from the higher consciousness. So honestly, like with my friend's daughter, when I do this stuff, it happens naturally. It's like, oh my goodness, what an amazing coincidence. And what happens is, like, we have certain doors that we normally walk through, in life. Like, we'll go through this door. We'll go through this door. It'll be called a new job. And then we'll be at that job for a while. We'll be like, holy crap, this is the same job that I had last time. And then we'll quit that job and go through another door and think that it's a new thing. And it's like, holy crap, this is the same job that I had last time and the time before that. And, it might be slow growth or slow progress, and that's what happens at the personality level. It's because most of these things, like law of attraction work and all of that crap, is all from the personality level. Like, we're trying to shift things from the same level that created it. And what you need to do is you need to ramp yourself up. You need to up your game. You need to, allow yourself to be more powerful, and you need to allow yourself to say, yes, God lives through me. I am not separate from God. I am not separate from divinity. I am not separate from consciousness. It lives through me. It is me, in fact. And you have to say, screw you to everybody who says, oh, you can't say that. And it's just like, well, why not? Because if a tree is God, and if a lake is God, and if the stars are God, and if the nebula are God, why am I excluded? What makes me so special that I think I'm separate? So you just need to claim that. And unfortunately, on our planet Earth, it's been trained out of us, So you need to train yourself back in. So, but what I do is I work from that higher level. So when things happen in people's lives, like with my friend's daughter, she wasn't trying to get a job. She was trying to look pretty, and then the dream job landed in her lap. So, and it happens with stuff like that all the time. So I have a person that I'm working with who was like, I want my relationship with my husband to be healed. And, he's like, things got really bad, and I just can't feel love for him. And she was struggling with that. And so I did a consciousness alignment to help her release that and accept him as he was and accept her as she was. And then all of a sudden, she let go of her attachment to how he showed up. And guess what? He started contributing. He started being helpful. He started, telling her that he appreciates her. And all because I brought in something that she wasn't expecting. Because a lot of times people have some expectation that this is how it's supposed to look. And then me, when I'm listening to it, I'll be like, okay, so I can hear that they have an attachment to this. So a lot of what I do in my work is I help people let go of those attachments so that things can come in naturally. And when they're looking over here at this attachment to how something should show up, it kind of sneaks in the back door and shows up in a different way. So that they're like, holy crap, here's my miracle. I was expecting to be hit over the head with a cosmic 2x4 or the man of my dreams to land in my bed. But hey, here he is here. I've been working with him for 5 years, So anyway, that's how it shows up.
I love it. You mentioned the personality self, and so I wanted to ask you about different frequencies and such that, like, when you talked about law of attraction or any people doing different modalities, when they first get into it, they're like you just so eloquently highlighted, they take themselves out of it, the ego's out of it, and it works. But a year or two later, they're back to where they were before they started that new modality. So there's like modality jumping, if you will. How are you able to maintain that equilibrium that you're on?
That's a very good question. And I'm not really sure how to answer it because from where I am now, I'm trying to let consciousness do the work. Like, I'm the vessel through which consciousness does its work. Mm-hmm. So I don't really know how to answer that. And, again, like, I don't own it. I don't own this work. It's all work done in consciousness, but I'm a willing participant in the work. So I don't really know, honestly. I know I've been working towards this for a long time, and honestly, I'm still not at the point where I was at Unity Village, where I was like, yeah, your hand is healed. I do like a full-on trying to grab it from all angles and align everything exactly the way that we want it. But what's interesting about that is that when I align things, when I ask for things to happen exactly as I want them, it always happens exactly as I want it. It is really cool. So it's like I had a friend that I manifested to help me out with money issues like about probably 5 years ago. And this is while I was trying to figure out, how to get back to that spot where I was. And I wanted a guy who was magnetic to money, who was either gay or married. So I didn't want to have a sexual relationship with him, but who I adored, who adored me, who was my best friend, who I had something to offer him as much as he had something to offer me. And the day after I sort of did this manifestation process that I came up with, I could see that now in retrospect, I could see that very next day the universe was already on it, to align me to meet this person who has now been my best friend for 7 years. So it's I don't know, it's really cool. I forgot the question, but yeah, it's me. I've been working on this path towards getting to this point, and it's been a progressive. It's been so I'm a triple Capricorn, and if you know anything about Capricorns, they're kind of singularly focused. They start from the bottom of the ocean, and they just kind of work their way up the mountain. And I'm a triple Capricorn. So I am just I have my eye on that beam, and I just work towards it. So that's probably some of my, personal mojo there.
Let me approach it from another direction.
Okay.
So
All right.
when you said you saw the universe already starting to act on your behalf, and then there's another school of thought of, oh, it's not happening to me, and then it's because maybe you're peaking too much. You should just allow it to happen. How do you – it sounds like we're splitting hairs, but how do you differentiate the two?
So when the process that I actually created that night that I manifested that guy was – now I call it 5 C's consecration because I was in meditation. I was like, okay, I want to manifest this new best friend, and what do I have to do now? 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 And the biggest challenge that people have, including myself, so when you do this work for other people, it's so much easier than it is when doing it for yourself. So it's sort of like a progression. First you learn how to do it for other people because you're not attached to their story. And you can call in anything for somebody else, but if it's yours, if it's something for you, not that you're attached to your story that you want your story, but you're attached to your story that you believe your story. So it's a lot easier to do this kind of work for other people because you're not attached. And what I talk about in the 5 Keys to Consecration, which honestly is in this 3-part, it's like a chunk of this 3-part video series that I have that kind of gives the nuts and bolts of this work. And then, if people want to really learn how to do it, they can become involved in the community with the support, and they get access to me and, all these really amazing people who are ready for this kind of work. But anyway, so what happens is, it helps you. What you do is you have to just let it go, and there are different ways that you can do that. And a lot of people use tapping and EFT, and that's a great way to let things go. So in my 5 Keys to Consecration process, that's in that 3-part video series, there are 5 steps to that, and a lot of this work is that 5 Keys to Consecration sort of moshed into one because now I know how to do it, I know how to work it, and it's just kind of all moshed together. But it's little steps that are, okay, take this step, then take this step, then take this step, then take this step. And the last and final step is to release and let it go. So the first step is to get clear on what you want. The second step is to, and the way you get clear is you write down, what do I want? So I want to be able to live a life of, freedom, of prosperity, and to do the things that make me feel passionate and alive, or something like that. Write that down as your vision statement. Then the next step is anything in the way of that, write that down too. Oh, but I have expectations from my spouse, or, oh, I've been told that I, have to do this, or, oh, I can't do stand-up comedy because I'm an accountant and nobody would ever laugh at me, or, whatever those stupid things are that are in the way. You write those things down. And what I used to do is I would tap through them because, it's easier to do tapping and to get through that stuff. And then I would let go of all of that stuff that I thought was in the way. And then the third step is to feel it in your heart as if it has already happened. And it's easy if you put your hand on your heart and you can feel it in your heart as if it has already happened. And then the next step is to come from a place of gratitude. And honestly, step 3 and step 4, the feeling it from your heart as if it had already happened, and the gratitude are really moshed into one. But the gratitude part is really, really important. So I made that its own step. Because gratitude is like, thank you. I'm so happy and grateful that this made up in my life, and I love that we have this great camaraderie and blah, 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 and whatever. And then the last step, which is what people have the most trouble with, is to let it go. You have to let it go. And with me, when I manifested that guy, it was at like midnight by the time I was done with this process. And I had to, I had work at 8 a.m. the next morning or something like that, or maybe even 6. I don't remember. But I had to get to bed. So I knew that I had to release and let it go. So I tapped through the whole thing and I let it go, and I was able to sleep soundly. And then the next day, I had a friend who was trying to help me with a network marketing business who wanted to meet with me. And I was like, and something inside of me said, tell her that you need somebody else to help you. So I was like, Nancy, I really appreciate all that you're doing for me, but I really need somebody who's going to make money from helping me to help me. And can you introduce me to somebody that can do that? Somebody in my upline. Because she was in my upline, but she was sort of a little far removed, so she wasn't making any money for me. And she introduced me to this guy, and I didn't realize it at the time. But so I texted him a couple times, and he texted me. And he was like 22-hour drive away or something like that. So, he's pretty far. And so it's not like, he's in my hometown. He's married and has kids, and happily married. And so she introduced me to this guy, and I could see that the very next day when she gave me his, phone number to text him, that he was the guy. Because what happened was, so he's like a nationally ranked network marketer, and he, at the time, I think he's making more now, but at the time he was making like $40,000 a month, just really doing the thing that he loves, which was this network marketing business. And he would just talk to people and, say, hey, do you want to save any money on your electric bill? And people would be like, yeah. So he would, help them. He would get them signed up with this company. And what happened was I called him one day instead of texting. I just called him, and he was like, oh, hold on a second. And he sat up. And I didn't realize that was significant at the time, because in my manifestation process, I wanted to be as valuable to this person as he was to me. And I didn't realize that it was significant that he sat up, because a couple of years prior he had a heart attack and quadruple bypass surgery or something like that. And when your body goes through that kind of shock of being open like that, you go through panic attacks. Like, people have panic attacks, and the panic attacks, and that is what kills you. So you have a 5-year life expectancy after that. And a lot of people, because of the stress that their bodies go through, don't make it. And so at that point when he sat up, he said that once he heard my voice, he started to feel better. It was like there was something about my voice that made him start to feel better. And then 2 or 3 months later, and I had never seen this guy before. I had been in this network marketing business for 6 months or something. I had never seen him before, didn't know who he was, didn't know what he looked like, didn't even know he existed. And he came to my area because most of his team was there, and there was a big simulcast. And I rode with him to the simulcast, and he was like a big schmo there. And so we really hit it off, and then we went back home, and we went out and sang karaoke that night, and we really hit it off. He's like my best friend, but he would have panic attacks in the car as we were driving. And naturally, what Kerri would do is I would put my hand on each side of his chest while he was having his panic attack. Like, he'd pull over. I'd just do my natural thing, which is to give him Reiki. And he went from having hour-and-a-half-long panic attacks when he got there to 2 or 3 minutes when he left, when he went back home. So I didn't realize it, but that's exactly what I asked for. And he, we would be walking around Dick's Sporting Goods, and his phone would go ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. ka-ching. It would happen like 20 times in an hour. And I was like, why does your phone always do that? And he's, every time my phone dings, it's $180. And I was like, oh. So, while we're walking around Dick's, he made $3,500, So that was exactly what I asked for. And he's helped me with the mind, he helped me with that financial mindset. And he was exactly what I was looking for. And, So I let go. So to answer your question, I was able to let go and just sort of follow the natural, like what felt natural and right to me. And just, if my intuition was giving me a nudge, hey, Nancy, put me in touch with somebody else, that's what I did. And I just, but you have to let go, because if you're always like, where is it, then it can't show up. You're not allowing the universe to do its job, and you're actually blocking it, because while you're in that state of panic, where is it? You're telling the universe, I don't have it. So that's where that line is.
Very nice. Very nice. And go ahead, David. I'm sure you're chomping at the bit.
Man, I'm just enjoying listening to her, everything she's saying. I don't even know where to start. I got like a million questions. So, what? Let me ask you this: have you heard of and/or read a book called The Way of Mastery?
No.
No?
No.
Okay. I'm currently reading that book, and a lot of what you're talking about and everything you're saying is kind of like right out of this book. I'm like, wow, this sounds a lot like.
Maybe. Well, I did in another form.
Oh, there you go. There you go. I guess the updated version, because that's a rather old book. Tell her a little bit more about the book, David.
Well, it came out, I think, in the 90s, and the Shanto Christie, I think I told you about it, Hamza. The Shanto Christie Foundation is the one that put it out, and it's kind of hard to explain, but it just talks a lot about, everything that you're kind of talking about. It comes from that angle, and you're the one, and you're the source, and you're one. Talks about you're right there with the Creator. That's kind of your essence, and some of the things you talked about in regards to creating, it's kind of spot on, the things that it says and what you're talking about. So that's why I was like, man, I wonder if she's read this book. Not that you got it from that book, but it's just if you were just familiar with it. So that's why I brought it up.
Nope.
Yeah.
Hey, I just have a little announcement. That appointment that I had just canceled, so we're good.
Oh, perfect. Okay, because I was about to put the cap on it. Excellent. Well, cool. I guess the newer version is for movies. I'm a big movie guy. Have you ever seen Yes Man with Jim Carrey?
No, I haven't. I've watched like the Truman. I know a lot of people think that Jim Carrey is like a wackadoodle nowadays, but whatever. I like his. I hate his like Dumb and Dumber, but I like his like Truman Show and stuff like that. And I can appreciate Jim Carrey a little bit more now that he's kind of getting older. Now that other people think that he's weird, now I like him. So.
Right. Right. Like you said, it's always the opposite of what you see. So you're obviously gravitating towards that. And the movie, not to give it away, he was a man that said no to everything, like you said, for whatever reason. And then I think he was given. It was actually, the movie was written from the perspective of someone in the UK. They had written a book, and then Hollywood brought the rights. But it was like, just take 30 days and say yes to every opportunity that comes to you, and his life was forever transformed. It's kind of kooky because it's Jim Carrey, but it was still enjoyable in my opinion.
Oh, awesome! I'll check it out.
Yeah. So when you talk about consciousness and controlling consciousness or commanding consciousness, and this is a very personality question. My familiarization with the word consciousness is access consciousness, and I was wondering if people from access consciousness have reached out to you. Are there any synergies, or do you actually?
They may have. I don't really know, because I am not an access consciousness person.
Okay.
So people have asked me that. Oh, is this similar to access consciousness? I really have no idea. I have no clue. I'm assuming there are some similarities, but I really do not know, because I kind of, march to the beat of my own drum. And access consciousness, to me, it sounds like, and I don't know if it is, what is that? Shoot, it's kind of escaping me now. Landmark. It sounds like landmark to me, but it could be completely different. I have no idea.
Yeah, it's a little different, and that's a topic for another conversation. We really want to focus on Kerri, so I just thought I'd ask you that quick question about that. So
yeah, no, don't know.
So have you also found, like with you, you're keeping your vibration up, but you're working with groups, and sometimes, I mean, people have reported the spontaneous physical healing, the financial windfalls and such. Have they been able to, just being around you or being a part of your consciousness classes and such, that they're able to maintain that, or do they see that as a one-trick pony and it can only happen when you're around?
Well, we have a in the program that I have, we have a Facebook group where people can maintain connection with that community. So, and honestly, the program that I teach is 12 weeks. And it's really pretty intense. So it's like a year-long thing crammed into 12 weeks. And, if people want to take a year to do it, they can, but, it's released in weekly modules. So, and what we do in the program, and this is not the three-part video series. So the 3-part video series is free, and it kind of gives you all of, actually really what I'm giving you in this call, which is really pretty much everything that I can possibly give that I know, but I can't give you hours of me, helping to maintain this consciousness and course correcting for you. However, people can be part of the group. And honestly, in the program that I do, I make it experiential. So I basically force people, well, I mean, if they don't want to do it, they don't want to do it, but why are they paying me money? I basically tell people, okay, your homework for this week is to take what you've learned, and this starts at about, I think it starts at about week 5 or week 6. Now your assignment for the week is to go out and try this on somebody else, to get people used to doing it themselves so that they can actually, start claiming their power, because most of our teachers, like Wayne Dyer, Tony Robbins, Esther Hicks, all these people tell you this is what you have to do. And they don't demonstrate. Like Esther Hicks will channel, but she doesn't teach other people how to do it, and she doesn't access that consciousness for other people and change their lives for them. And what I love about this work is that somebody can be like, holy crap, my life is falling apart, my wife left me, I haven't seen my kids in 2 years, my dog died, my mother has breast cancer, yada, yada, yada. I lost my job last week, all of this crap, and it's just like so overwhelming. And then I can come in and I can do a consciousness alignment, and they'll come back to me next week and say, hey, you know what? I got a new job and I'm being paid $10,000 more than I was before, or something, or they'll be able to calm down to allow for life to happen to them. And, and that, I feel like that's what a huge part is, that when people hear me, like they want these things, and I ask, and I'll be happy to do a consciousness alignment, because now that we have unlimited time on this call, I'll be happy to do a consciousness alignment for your audience, for you guys, whatever, because that's free. I do that, and I help people to get out of their crap so that, they can start claiming their power. Because if you're buried in a pile of crap, it's really hard to see the light,
Sure.
Sure. So, that I'll do. But it's, I forgot my point. But, like, I'll help people, and I do it from the higher level, the higher consciousness level. So you'll be just living your life, and I'll be like, wow, this woman of my dreams basically almost landed right in my bed, because I knew her from work, and we I just felt like asked her if she wanted to go out to have coffee or a drink or dinner or whatever, And then, it turns out that we have so many things in common that I never would have known of before. And holy crap, the woman of my dreams was working 50 feet from me for the last 5 years, and I never would have known it, and I never would have been open to it if I hadn't been, in this state of being. And so it's really awesome and cool to see how these things happen. And yes, so my students tell me, so once my students start doing this work and I start forcing them to do consciousness alignments, then they report, they're like, wow, Kerri, I started doing this, and I start opening my morning with, a consciousness alignment, and I will align my day, and I will align this, and I will align that, and, I'm working with my clients, and my clients are seeing good results, and my family members are seeing good results. Oh, and do you remember that my dad was really having a hard time, and they thought they were going to have to amputate his leg? Well, guess what? That's getting better, and I helped him with that. And, all of this stuff, like these people are coming back and saying, holy crap, you're showing me how to do this 3 months ago. I never would have been able to do this, would have even known that it was even a possibility that I could do this. And I am affecting positive change in people's lives, and it is happening rapidly. So, yes. So, no, it's not like a one-shot trick pony and like, boom, you're back to where you were before. It's that, the level, the vibration of people that join me, and I think I tend to bring out the good in people. I think I tend to force people to sort of level up their game, because you can probably tell, I'm kind of a no BS kind of girl. And, I'm loving, and I'm compassionate, but also at the same time, I'm not an enabler. So, like, if somebody's like, well, I really don't want to do it, I would prefer that you do it for me. And I'm like, well, no, this is all about you learning to claim your power. So I appreciate that you would like me to do it for you. I will do one at the end, at the end of our call, like on our group calls. But, you don't have to go first, but you do have to do it. So I kind of push people to the edge of their comfort zone, which is a good thing, because, it's a secure environment. You're just on a phone call with people. And the people that I ask them to help out, are people that they love, and are people who they can actually help, and are people who know that they're on a learning process and a growth curve, and are willing to help them in that. So I push them beyond where they're comfortable, and then at the same time, they see how they start to claim, and they start to see how powerful they truly are, and in that, other people see, wow, Mary is you should see the changes that are going on in her life and how she's helped me. And it kind of, it snowballs, like as you affect somebody, they affect people, and so on and so forth. And I think by sort of forcing my students to go out and practice, it empowers them, and then it empowers the people in their lives as well.
Mm-hmm. And at the beginning of the podcast, you had mentioned Course of Miracles, and you kind of sprinkled in some miracles that has been happening, and they seem to be more frequent now just because you're in that vibration. Has there been one miracle or example that you're like, I'm used to experiencing a lot of examples, either through myself or my colleagues or friends, but this one takes the cake?
Well, honestly, a lot of them do take the cake. So, like, the healing of the hand was big for me. The book being a #1 bestseller was big for me. That relationship with my friend's daughter, like that job landing in her lap exactly the way that I asked for it, that was big. Personally, so like I said previously, it's easier to seemingly call in things for other people than it is myself. However, and you have had contact with my marketing manager. So with her, I called her in, and I don't know, it was like less than 2 weeks later that she contacted me. But for, I hadn't gotten clear on what I really wanted as far as somebody to help me. So I keep, one of the recurring patterns that I seem to have wanted to pull back, and then whenever I course correct on this, really great things always happen. So this work, I've been working on building this for a while, and I've been in the personal, self-help, personal development field for a long time, since 1998. And but when I called in my marketing manager, I was like, all right, what am I really looking for? Because I thought I wanted a guy, like a guy who was like my twin flame, blah, 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 who was a businessman and would be able to help me. And then I was like, I don't think I want that, because if I have a guy in my life who's a businessman, he's going to have his own ideas on how I should run my life and run my business, and how I should do my work. And I don't think I'm really aligned with that. I'm not really down with that. So once I got clear, and again, that's the first step in like the 5 Keys consecration process. Which, and by the way, if people are not even interested in taking the program, watch the 3-part video series. Go to divinewithin.com/video series, and that's all free. So divinewithin.com/video series. So when I called her in, I was like, because I have a pretty big LinkedIn, I have a pretty big LinkedIn base, and I thought that it would be through LinkedIn, but I didn't specifically say that, but it was kind of an idea that I had, and I was like, I want somebody who's going to find my work, believe in my work, believe in me, see that it's special, and who will help me get my work out in a big way, but I want them to be paid based on results. And I want them to be somebody who I can really work with, who can be my business partner, not just somebody who's working, for me. And I put that out there. And I had, honestly, I've been looking for like a manager for a long time. I was like, I want a manager, but I was unclear on how I wanted that manager to be. But I didn't know that I was unclear until I got clear on that I was unclear, if that makes any sense to you. And then when I got clear on what I wanted, she just swooped in. And, the universe aligned for me to have the money. So she required a retainer. So half of it was in retainer, and then the other half comes in results, which is great because, then that showed that I was committed to her, and then she was committed to me for the other half. And she's amazing. She's amazing. So she does amazing graphics. She's very thorough. She does outreach. She, responds as me in my social media. And, while I'm, trying to move into doing this, like full on and doing the things that I like to do, like, doing things like this, doing the calls like this, engaging with people on Facebook and all of that. And, like I said previously, I had been doing, websites before and, audio editing. And, I had done my own, social media and all that. So I know how to do all that. But it takes me away from my passion. It takes me away from the things that I love doing. So, honestly, for me, my marketing manager, like, landing in my life exactly the way that I asked her to, because I wanted – whoever approached me to be like, Kerri, your work is really powerful. Can I help you? And that's exactly how she came in. But at first I didn't trust that it was her. So I was pretty snarky. I was like salty with her. And I was like, well, yeah, I do need help, but I have no interest in buying somebody's blueprint, And she was like, oh, no. That's not how we work. I'm sorry if my, if my branding came across that way, but no, we're done for you. We're done for you. And then, she said, I'll bring in this amount of money within this amount of time, and here's our contract, and it's a very thorough contract, so it's awesome. So that for me is something that's like, wow, that is freaking amazing. And, with my own personal stories, it hits closer to home because I know them so much more intimately, like all those other stories that I told. But, people tell me all the time. They're like, Kerri, when I met you, I was struggling, and I couldn't figure out how I was going to pay my mortgage, and I couldn't figure out this, and I wanted my work to start growing, and I wanted to do this, and I wanted to do that. And then, after a month and a half of working with you, I got more, invitations to, lead retreats than I can possibly, than I ever imagined that I would. Or, I have more clients coming in than I ever thought that I would. Or, holy crap, my relationship with my husband is healed. Or, my relationship with my kids are healed. Or, whatever, that job that I was hoping to get, that didn't happen, but something even better happened. So, yeah, it happened.
That's great. So I like be a little selfish here, and I want to give a shout out to my twin sister. She lives in Spain, and we had a family reunion over the weekend in Jersey. And so we did a little FaceTime with everybody there, and because she wasn't there, and being the twin brother and the silly twin brother, I thought I can break dance like I did in my early days. And today I'm wearing crutches, and I have a big eggplant on my foot.
Oh my gosh!
So I'm a good manifester, but I'm like, I want this to go away, and I was like really triggered by the lady with the hand splint and how it went away overnight.
Okay.
So if that could be a segue for a little sample for our audience, that'd be great.
Okay. And so, see, normally when I'm doing this, I'm trying to find a metaphysical reason for that, whatever it is. So, are you feeling crippled?
Yep.
Okay. I'm just writing. Feeling crippled, and are you feeling foolish?
Foolish, yes.
Okay. Okay. And are you feeling your mortality?
Yeah, for the first time ever.
Okay. All right. Probably good enough. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to give you instructions on how to receive this, because it's all about receiving. There's no doing for you.
Mm-hmm.
You just need to receive. So what you want to do is you want to listen to my every word. So you want to be mindful, and I know you're not driving a car or anything, so that's a good thing. So anybody else who's listening who may have a physical ailment that you would like to also have alleviated, this can help you as well. And it can help anybody else as well, too. So any of the things that I mentioned within this consciousness alignment will apply to anyone. And then we can do another one for, something else afterwards if you'd like. And also, you want to, as I'm speaking, you want to say yes to yourself. So you can either do that out loud or you can do it silently to yourself. And the reason that you say yes is just so that you know that you're open. Because a lot of people are like, am I open? I don't know if I'm open. Am I open? So as I'm speaking, you just want to say yes to allow consciousness to work on your behalf. And here we go. Thank you, divine consciousness that lives in, through, and as me, and is both the voice that speaks and is the ear that hears, and especially thank you for aligning Hamza with having free mobility in his body, and thank you for releasing him across all time, space, dimension, and reality from any feelings that he is crippled in any way in his life, whether it's physically, whether it's financially, whether it's romantically, whether it's emotionally, regardless of what that is, that crippling that he may feel in his life. Thank you for releasing him from that across all time, space, dimension, and reality, every level of consciousness, every strand of DNA, every vibrating molecule, and every spinning atom. Thank you for realigning Hamza to have a new perspective on life, a new freedom, so where he feels free and mobile in his entire life through his physical being, through his emotional being, through his relationships, through his money, in all aspects of his life, even parts that I don't even know of to ask for. Thank you for imprinting him with a new consciousness now that allows him to feel free, like he's freely mobile in the entirety of his life now, across all time, space, dimension, and reality now. That is something even better. That is something even better now. And thank you for releasing from him any self-doubt that he has, any sense of foolishness, anything that has been in the way of him being able to freely move in his life and be at peace with himself. So thank you for releasing him from that across all time, space, dimension, and reality, in his physical body and his etheric body, in every vibrating molecule, every strand of DNA. Thank you for rewiring his neural pathways and neuroreceptors, and thank you for realigning him down his mother's side of the family and his father's side of the family from any sense of being crippled or immobile, and any sense of foolishness or self-doubt or insecurity that going down his mother's side of the family and his father's side of the family, going back 10,000 generations. Thank you for releasing his entire family lineage from any of these thoughts, any of these doubts, any of these feelings of unworthiness or doubt, or blame or foolishness or feeling crippled in their life in any way. And thank you for creating a new consciousness within Hamza that he has inherited from 10,000 generations of family lineage, which allows him to experience a new consciousness that is freely mobile, freely true to himself, where he can do the things that he desires without feeling foolish and without having all of these constraints in the way. Thank you, it is already done. Thank you, it is already done now. Thank you for releasing him from his story across all time, space, dimension, and reality, and any attachments to his story that he has across all time, space, dimension, and reality as it relates to his life here on planet Earth and anything that he perceives is limiting him in any way, including his mortality. So thank you for releasing him from any thoughts that he is mortal in any way. Thank you, it is already done. Thank you, it is already done now across all time, space, dimension, and reality. And anyone who's listening to this consciousness alignment, also thank you for aligning them with all of these things now. Any self-doubt that they have, any feelings in their lives where they may feel crippled or constrained in any way or confined, thank you for releasing them across all time, space, dimension, and reality, including their mortality. Thank you for opening this person to a new realization that they are life. Life lives through them, and life does not die. Life does not die. Life lives. Life lives on and on and on. And thank you for creating a new consciousness within Hamza and within the people who are listening to this consciousness alignment now to know that they are life. They are life. Life moves into and as them, and consciousness moves into and as them. And there are no limits to who they are because they are one with all. They are one with all. And in that perspective, and in that knowing, and in that alignment with knowing that they are one with all, they are not separate or apart from anything. They do not need to attract anything into their lives because they are already it, and all they need to do is say yes, yes, yes to allowing it to come in. Thank you for allowing full abundance. Thank you for allowing full freedom of motion. Thank you for allowing fulfilling relationships. Thank you for allowing freedom of occupation and freedom to do the things in their lives that they want to do. Thank you for this full freedom of movement in their lives in any direction that they want to go, across all time, space, dimension, and reality. And thank you for taking this new consciousness, going down their mother's side of the family and their father's side of the family, going back 10,000 generations, that allows them to experience this and to inherit this new consciousness from 10,000 generations of family lineage. And thank you for allowing them to pass this on now and forevermore through the entirety of their entire family lineage, now and forevermore, and for the rest of their lives. Thank you, it is already done. Thank you, it is already done now. Thank you, it is already done now. That is something even better. That is something even better. Thank you, it is already done. And so it is. Okay, take a deep breath. And push it all out. And take another deep breath. And push it all out.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Are you feeling anything?
It was so, I know I have so much company right now. Oh, my goodness. It was just the room lit up.
Oh, really?
Yes, that was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Good.
I was going to ask you for one too, Kerri, but I think I might have got enough.
Absolutely.
Well, I recently moved here to Colorado, and I had a lot of intentions moving here and what I was going to do, and everything has been falling into place like just miraculously. And so there's a few more steps to go, but I guess just a continuance of all the miracles and everything falling into place like it has been. It's just been fantastic.
Okay. Is it David or Davis?
David.
Okay, it is David. Okay.
Yeah.
Davis. Okay. Continuance of amazingness.
Yes, that's the perfect way to say it. Continuance of amazingness.
Okay, and I'll align that for everybody else. And I forgot to actually use the word healing in there, so I'll kind of do that again, like for you, Hamza. I'll just kind of mention that in here as well. For anyone that is requiring or desiring of healing as well, because I did everything else but that one word. So, all right. Thank you, divine consciousness that lives into and as me, and is both the voice that speaks and the ear that hears, and is this very present moment of now. Thank you for creating within David's life a continuance of this this unfoldment of these amazing synchronicities and miracles and this amazingness that is going on in his life now. Thank you, it is already done. Thank you for continuing on this path of just this miraculous unfoldment of all these good, juicy, awesome, fulfilling, joyful experiences that he's having. Him and everyone who's hearing my voice now, thank you, it is already done. Thank you, it is already done now. And for those who are not experiencing something like that and who are wanting that, thank you for releasing, uncreating, and transmuting all of anything that's in the way of that across all time, space, dimension, and reality now. Across all time, space, dimension, and reality now. Thank you, it's already done. Thank you, it's already done. And so it is. And thank you for also creating for Hamza and anyone else who's listening to my voice and listening to this call, a healing in their body for wherever it is that they're thinking about now, whatever feeling they are thinking about now in their body. Thank you. It is already done across all time, space, dimension, and reality. And every vibrating molecule, every spinning atom, every strand of DNA, thank you for rewiring the neural pathways and neural receptors so that this healing has already taken place, has already taken place now. Whatever that healing is, thank you, it is already done. And thank you for continuing these miraculous events in the lives of these people who are hearing my voice now so that amazingness and just awesomeness just keeps unfolding in their lives beyond their expectations, beyond their dreams. Thank you, it is already done. Thank you, it is already done now across all time, space, dimension, and reality. And thank you for imprinting this person with a consciousness of knowing that they are fully connected, not only connected, they are the universe. The universe is living through them and is enjoying life as them through their eyes and ears and experience. And the universe is taking pleasure and delight in bringing them everything they desire. And as it does, they are saying yes to all the beauty and the joy and the fulfillment that life is offering now. They're saying yes now. They're saying yes now, and they're allowing it in. They're receiving. Thank you, it is already done. Thank you, it is already done now. Thank you, it is already done now. And so it is. Okay, take a deep breath. And push it all out. And take another deep breath. And push it all out. Are you guys feeling ungrounded? Do you want me to do a grounding, or you good?
I'm totally grounded.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm totally grounded too.
Let's leave it for the people. I think this is a perfect time to once again highlight your site, for people to sign up for your classes, any speaking engagements, how they can get in touch with you, all the above.
Okay. So actually so if you go on my website and you sign up for the 3-part video series, and I think it's divinewithin.com/video series. That will give you the 3-part video series, which kind of gives you they're each 15-minute videos that kind of tell you how the mechanics of how I do this, which is really kind of cool. And then there's bonus materials with all of that. And then when that is, at the bottom of that page, there's a little button that says check out the masterclass or something like that. And the masterclass actually tells you about the program that I'm doing, and that starts next week. We're dropping the first video module on June 3rd, which is the first Monday in June. And we only release this once every few months, or at least right now we're only releasing it once every few months. And so this won't be offered again for another few months. And when you do that, so the program, the 12-week program we have, so it's 12 weeks of video modules. It's 12 weeks of peer group support, like you'd be linked up with a peer. It's also 12 weeks of group support, like in my group call, so you can, talk to me. You also, depending upon how you decide to join, you'll either get one call with me, or if you decide to, I think, do the whole payment at once, like to do, just do the whole class at once, I think you get 2 extra calls with me. And when people, just decide to join, you can either do, if you have questions, you can schedule a call with me, and I believe that's divinewithin.com/call, CALL, if you have questions. And you can, I think depending upon the level that you decide to join, you can either get 2 extra bonus calls with me, and then you also get access to the 6-month access to the Manifesting Miracles Consciousness Library. So, you can have that, as well as the Awakened Life Expo. So there's all of that really cool stuff. But all you need to do to even start that going is to sign up for the 3-part video series at divinewithin.com/video series. And if you can't remember that, just go to divinewithin.com from the front page, and you'll be sent an email asking you if you'd like to participate in the video series along the way there somewhere anyway. But if you would like to be trained in this, it is trainable. It's not as big of a deal as a lot of people make it out to be. It's just a tiny shift in perspective, but it needs to be learned. It is very doable, and there are really amazing people that you can connect with and have lifelong relationships with, in the program and learning how to do this work.
And then keeping with the perspective for folks that are listening to this live, the live calls is May 22nd, and then the first class starts June 3rd, so procrastination is not your friend. Jump on it, folks. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Well, you've just been tuned to another episode of Intrinsic Motivation from a Homie's Perspective. This is Hamza.
And I am David.
And I can't wait to tell you about my miraculous recovery with my leg and all the other good news after learning about what you had to offer. It was definitely a pleasure speaking with you.
Yes.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure being here.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's stay in touch.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Enjoy your evening, Kerri.
You too.
Cheers.
Thank you so very much, David. Thank you, Hamza.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.